So thank you for coming on. You don't even know
Thanks for
me or
asking
what I'm going
me.
to ask you. You're like, sure. I love the trust between boat women. You're just like, yep, she's a good one.
That's the thing. I always figure in life, say yes, and I had a couple of my friends I mentioned it to, and they said, "Well, what's it about, or what are you going to be talking about?" I said, "No idea, no idea." But that's the joy, isn't it? I think
Yeah,
with other, I'm seeing with other boaty, people in general, not just ladies,
yeah,
but you
yeah,
just connect, like you
yeah.
immediately like have something, this common ground, and
Mm,
whatever it's about, you either relate to it or learn
yeah.
from it. This in some way you'll grow from the conversation.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So true. I want to actually start by reading your post out because that was why I was immediately like, I need to talk to this girl. And I
go
don't
for it.
know how this is going to work. I won't be able to see you for a minute because I've got the post up on my web browser, so I'm not going to be able to see, but I'm just going to read it out. So just for everyone else in case they missed your post, although I did repost it. So you put a Heath Ledger quote up first saying, everyone you meet always asks if you have a career, are married, or own a house, uh, as if life was some kind of grocery list. But no one ever asks you if you're happy. And then you went on to say, you don't mind me reading this out, by the way, do you?
No, no,
Okay,
of course
good.
not. No.
Okay, good. I figured it was on social media. You're okay. Didn't check. So you went on to say you care less about the materials here and more about your day-to-day survival. I was back visiting my parents Monday night, flushing toilet, warm water that's never ending, gas much the same. Houses have it all, don't they? It didn't make me happy. I felt disconnected. I ran from my mortgage in the end. It was so freeing. Too many options to live for retirement. So what about your best years, health, age? By doing what society expects, you get to retirement and it can all be too late. Choice taken from you. I never wanted to look back at my life and say I had one shot. I played by the rules, worked hard, stressed, saved 3 to 4 weeks holiday. So many I know have health issues from 40 onwards, some younger. Your best years are taken from this. Your best years taken for this promise we're sold. The more I had, the more I wanted. Money, car, house, holidays, love, always striving for perfection, for control. 36, no children, no partner, and now lives on a boat. It's hard to connect to people, to find those special like minded beings who don't live life to conformity norms. It's so rare to find your people. They are just doing what they choose, not what society tells us we should or shouldn't. Last night was simple: coal, wood, water, food, electricity, gas, candles, and a darling friend pop over for company. Simplicity. She's off to Canada to live, so solo badass female that she is, a total free spirit, unprepared to live life how others want or expect her to. I see the horror on some of my friends and family's faces. No shower, a compost toilet. You've run out of water. Oh, Shah, they say, the sympathy and sadness in their voice that I'm living this way, as if my hand was forced. And then you put a stop emoji. A reminder, this simplicity was a choice. Each and every morning I plan to walk to my shower. I'm reminded I'll feel so grateful for the water, feeling it, uh, feeling it means working for my primal needs, God's intent. Happiness will always be my driver over anything else that I once put first. Simple, mindful, happy pleasures. Above all, be happy. And it just like, I mean, there's everything in there. I feel like we could just talk about like everything for like an hour just on that post. So, like, the first one I want to touch on is you said, because one of the big drivers for me starting this podcast was finding like-minded people, finding a bit of a tribe. And I've lived on
Yes.
my boat now for 5 years, 6 years, and I've had pockets of it, but of course, because we all move
Amazing.
along,
Yeah.
um, it's hard to kind of uh, stick with it, basically, because we're all going here, there, and
Yeah.
everywhere. So, what did you, when you wrote that post, what did you mean by, because I feel like it wasn't necessarily, and maybe I misread it, but it wasn't necessarily specific to boat life. You just said finding your people is rare. Like, what do you mean
I
by that?
think so. So what I mean by that is I think I struggled quite a lot at school. I was never really a sheep. And I always kind of had my own thoughts on so many things. I'm an overthinker anyway, over processor, overthinker. And I found it really hard to actually connect to others that maybe had that same kind of quick thinking, erratic kind of thoughts, and very
Mm.
emotional, very driven on kind of how I feel with everything I do. And so that kind of continued in my adulthood, in my relationships, my friend circles. I can see
Sorry,
some of the
boat are just
reflection go
going by.
past. Yeah. Yeah.
Total
Yeah.
distraction.
So I find it really hard to connect to people in general in all walks of life, and I found like everybody's on this kind of route to have an education, to meet someone, to get a good job, and get a house, and then you get married and you have kids, and this kind of like timeline. And I tried so hard to follow this bloody timeline of life, and the more I try, the more I fail. And it
Mm.
was like this feeling of like failing, and trying to meet, every time I tried to meet people that were in perhaps my current state, so maybe they're single, I would try and meet other like-minded single people. I would try and meet, then you're in a relationship and you try and meet other like-minded couples. And this is kind of like the pattern I think that a lot of people follow in life. And I just felt exhausted trying to find my people, I guess,
Mm.
in those categories. And I think one of the things I've loved, I'm very new to boating, and one of the things I've loved and I've been overwhelmed with is everybody's kind of story. Everybody has such a different story that's brought you here.
Yeah.
Everybody, like, some people have such a successful, inverted commas, whatever people call a successful career, very different careers, and other people are retired, and some people have lots of money, they just choose to live that simple life. Other people have
Mm.
no money, and
Mm.
and just love that simplicity still, and don't want to live in a house, and don't want that kind of complication. And I just love, I love everybody's journey and story, and you all come together with this mutual connection. It doesn't matter if you're a couple, it doesn't matter if you're on your own, it doesn't
Mm.
matter where you are. There just seems to be this connection. And where that makes me feel is that when I traveled, I have a travel business actually, and I've had it for the last sort of 3 years now, and obviously it got hit pretty hard during
Yeah.
COVID.
Wow.
And but what I loved, this consistency of travel. So I kind of wanted this business when I left kind of the world of being employed 3 years ago. And we can touch on that because I am currently employed actually, which is an interesting topic. But when I kind of left the world of being kind of very much employed, and that's how I saw my life, the rest of my life is being
Mm.
employed until I retire. When I finally left that job, that employed job, and I think I got to the point where, that breaking point where I just had enough. I'd
Mm.
had enough of life as it was, which kind of was the catalyst, I suppose, of change. It forced me to change because I didn't want to carry on. So it forced me into this world of travel, and I'd kind of entered it in my early 30s. Never particularly liked to travel, didn't want to travel, didn't understand why people would want to travel in my 20s. I thought it was a lot of money. I thought it was, a waste almost.
Mm.
And my sort of slim amount of annual leave I had, 20 odd days, why on earth would I want to use that money? And I had a mortgage. I was a grown up, and all these kind of all these things holding me back. And when I finally just was like, screw this, to hell with this. Don't want to swear. Can I?
You can swear. It's
Can I throw
fine.
in? Can I go and throw in a couple of swear
Chuck 'em in.
words? So when I thought, fuck it, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
and travel.
Yeah.
I kind of left it all, and I had no idea, no plan. But what I loved is these people I met along the way, all different age groups. It didn't matter what country you're from, what age you were, what color you were. It just, nothing mattered. All that mattered was like, where will we shower? you know, where is our next, where are we going to go next, and where should we eat? Like, it's such simple problems. I
Yeah.
loved it. I was absolutely hooked on this kind of going with life, this trusting life.
Mm.
And when I came back, as I say, 3 years of having the business, and in between that, I would just disappear for a month here and there. And I love this freedom that the business kind of brought me. And when COVID hit, I felt like I was like, again, I felt all these fears again, like I think a lot of people did, what's
Mm.
next? What do I do? And, connecting to people, and um, you're going to have to stop me. I'm going to carry on otherwise.
No,
But
please keep going. I'm loving it.
yeah. So it was kind of this feeling of I actually feel like, again, I felt like this kind of stressed, lost again. And I had this like little mini breakdown of like, and at the time I was dating someone who was incredible for this kind of mindset, this meditation, this kind of going with life. And he was like, at the time, I believe people are in your life for different reasons at different
Mm,
points in your life. And I don't think I believe that someone is right for you forever anymore. I think I used to feel like that. And now I feel like
yeah.
people are right for you at different points, depending where you're at and what you need to learn and where you need to grow. And people will enter your life, whether that's a relationship, a friend, a colleague, a random person on social media. So it's just kind of like, I stopped, I slowed down, and because he said to me, actually, so you can't travel and you can't sell holidays, accept it. Because
Yeah.
acceptance, your biggest resistance right now is your own expectations of
Mm,
yourself. And I thought, so true. So I slowed down, and it was amazing. It was like I reconnected to myself. But right here in this country, I was kind of exploring again, and I had no idea I could paint. And that was born out of COVID, that I could like
oh,
like my
wow.
hands and my head just was like just creating, just started to paint. I've got one in front of me now. I'm just looking at it now randomly.
Yeah.
Um, and it's so crazy how that came about. And it's because I just slowed down in life and just connected again. And then I entered this world of being employed again, NHS, during the kind of pandemic, and I felt suddenly this thing sparking me again, where I'm trying to fit in with people. I'm trying to
Mm,
connect to people again.
yeah.
I'm back on this wheel, and I'm like, whoa, I don't want to be on this wheel again. And it was a great reminder. But it's funny how, I'm in a different position at the moment, but it's, to me, everything's temporary. Nothing's
Yeah.
permanent in life, really.
Hmm.
And so back on this wheel, to me, I think a lot of people are on this wheel for life or until retirement. And for me, I'm like, no, 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 it's temporary. Everything is temporary. And this kind of state of being, the state of mind, is
Yeah.
temporary.
Yeah.
um so whatever I can do to connect to people is kind of where I go, is the path I take.
Mm,
I believe everyone has a crossroad, everybody has a junction. It's just so many people are too scared to turn left or turn right, so they
yeah.
keep going straight.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I find that actually a lot of the time, um, I remember when I first moved onto the boat, which is another reason actually that I was really excited to talk to you, because it was like, oh yeah, just reignite that like that first moment. And when you start to get into it and you don't really realize what you're getting into initially, you're just moving onto a boat, and
No.
there's a whole world that comes with it that you just can't
Yeah,
really comprehend until you're in it. And I really struggled actually connecting with women, with girls, really, at school and everything. It was always
yeah,
quite a struggle for me. And then I broke up with my partner and moved on to my boat. So I decided to buy the boat, because I was just like, I don't want to flat share again. I'm older now,
yeah.
and I just couldn't do it. I just I hate washing up, and the idea of that, like someone else's washing up, was enough to make me go, I'm buying a boat. So yeah, so I bought the boat, and I remember that suddenly I just really made so many strong female friendships, and other
Yes.
friendships as well, male and female, but just so many strong female friendships. And I think it's like, um it's not necessarily like you say, because they all had different paths, different ideas,
Yeah.
different careers, different personalities, different ethnicities, like everything. But I think it's when you it was the first time that I really recall doing something sort of aligned myself to myself,
Yes.
like exactly like you. And I don't think I'd necessarily realized that I was trying to check all those boxes. I really thought that I was
Yeah.
being like, that's okay, I'm not going to check all those boxes. um although that was a real hard slog even to do that, and then you kind of feel like you get stuck into this pattern of having
Mm,
to be so anti it, when really you just want to go with the flow, but everyone
yeah.
needs you to make a decision. Do you want children? Do you want marriage? What do you think about this? And I'm like, I don't know. And that's not okay
Yeah.
with people. And I think
No.
actually when you that was the first time that I made a decision um that freed me to be more myself. And I think that's when you make stronger connections, isn't it? Is when you're being really sort of authentic to you. And I didn't really realize that that was
Definitely.
what the boat was giving me at all,
100%.
which was really interesting. Do you think then, do you feel, so how long have you been on the boat?
So it's only a month and a half. It's so quick. So
Wow.
yeah, I bought it
Okay.
about, well, just it must be just over 2 months ago that I bought it. And yeah, I mean that's quite a story in itself, I suppose, because I rented this property for 3 months. I hated it. I hated everything about this
Hmm.
property. At the time I did it because I just got the new job, which was better money, and I was back living at my parents during lockdown as well. So I decided, with a little bit extra cash, I thought it would make me happy. That sort of crucial thing that we tell ourselves of,
Yeah,
this will make,
yeah,
I'll be happy when, that syndrome.
yeah.
And I moved into this place, and I thought all I want to do is paint, and I want to do this job, but it was a year contract, and I thought, then I thought I'll reassess and see where the travel business is at. Hopefully by then I thought it hopefully will be picking up. And I sat in this property on my own for the first time, space, which I hadn't had for yeah, I mean, however many year or year and a half, month, whatever, since I'd left really that property and had some space. And I sat there and I was almost too scared to paint because my landlords were so material. I mean, had to be perfect. Everything had to be
Mm.
cream. The place was cream and white, and everything always had to be perfect with them. And they were landlords attached as well, which is, again, massive
Oh,
mistake.
wow, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, so I was trying to be perfect for them.
Mm.
And it was incredibly stressful. What a stressful life. I thought this is hot. And it took me a long time to realize why I felt so stressed. And it was back to this kind of keeping up with the Joneses, this kind of
Mm.
like the Truman Show is kind of what I called them. It was like the Truman Show. It was, Stepford Wives. You can kind of put all those kind of, if anyone hasn't seen them, just Google them and you'll know, you'll understand what I mean. And everything was about, I was in the peasant quarters above their Porsches. It was kind of like this, and I thought this is so far from what I
Yeah,
want,
yeah.
and so there I was above their Porsches, and they were all about being perfect. And I'm trying so hard not to pain. I'm trying so hard to just be perfect that I just thought, again, fuck this. This is
Mm,
bullshit. What am I
mm,
doing? So I tried my best to get out of it, and I did. I left. Done. I thought, yeah, I'll pay, re-advertise it, just get out of there. And at this point, I was in Devon, and I thought, and I'd been on a couple of dates with this guy, and we went on his boat, and I thought, I love it. I love it so much, and I had so many questions. And he said, funny enough, he said, it's kind of said, before he got into it, he's probably watching this, so he's been a huge supporter. Became friends,
nice,
and
amazing.
I had so many questions about the life, about the money, and I had never considered it. I didn't even understand anything about it, and didn't think it would ever be an option. It just didn't enter my mind. And
Hmm.
I really sat really late, and I thought about it, and I was googling about toilets, and what, as a woman, how do I cope with the certain times
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the cycle, and all these things. I'm sure there's lots of women that are like nodding, like, uh-huh,
yeah.
we've all done it,
Mhm.
don't deny it. Look at your Google history. um and so I just thought, how do I live on a boat? How do I function? Like, is this possible? Could I see myself doing this? And so everything I do is impulsive. It's my nature, but I don't believe I do something lightly. I look into it enough that I
Yeah.
fall in love with the idea.
Mm.
So I did the same with the business, I just become, encompassed by it. I live and breathe it night and
Yeah.
day until I decide to do something. And and so I started to look, and I went to go and see a couple, and they weren't right. I just did not feel right about it.
Mm.
And in my head again, I told myself, oh, it's so simple. If I didn't get mooring, it's fine. I would keep moving. And I had a few boaters that said, no, if I was you, I would try and find mooring first. And I thought, okay. And I realized on the River Lea, which is where I am, how hard that is.
Mm.
There's no
Yeah.
mooring.
Yeah.
And so I I I came across this boat, and I thought, oh, I like her a lot. She's an oldie. She's 1970s, but she's had a lot of work done. She's got a brand new hull and side plates, and
Mm.
new refurbed Lister engine. And I thought, and everyone kind of was saying to me, that's good, that's really good, yeah, it's really good
Yeah.
cost, that's a
Yeah.
good thing, that's positive. And I thought, okay, this is all positive stuff. There's nobody saying anything negative. And my friend was showing some of his kind of friends, and they're all going, oh, it looks amazing, do it, and it came with the mooring. And
Okay.
so I thought, and a few of them said, if all you do is get the mooring and then get rid of the boat, it's worth
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I did it. And this is the impulsive part. I hadn't even seen her. So I
Oh,
had some
wow.
friends. Yeah, and I have,
Wow.
yeah, I know. Some people are
I
like,
feel like
you're
you and I need to go
crazy.
for a coffee.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Yes, yes, 100%, Sean. Yeah, so I literally had some friends come to see it, do a video, do a live walk around with me.
Mhm.
And the owner, he bought it at 21, and again, impulsive, bought it, no survey. And he said, I'm too embarrassed to show you the survey, Shara. He said, there was everything wrong with this boat. And I saw the
Yeah.
pictures, and I was like, what were you thinking? She was like literally horrendous. And
Yeah.
he bought her from a Colombian drug dealer in London. And I was like, you are one dude, 21 years old, no idea, just went for it. And I said, I thought I
Yeah.
was impulsive.
Yeah.
And so he spent thousands doing her up, and so much love. She really was his project. So when he handed her over, I think at this point he had decided to get a mortgage, get a place, and kind of be rid of her. But he's still really close by and still kind of keeps an eye out. But when I got her, I came in and she was totally livable, but I realized how much work she needed. And I've spent the last month and a half solid, morning, lunch, and night until 2 a.m., just finishing her, getting her insulation, walls, plumbing. And she's there. I did
Yeah.
it. But isn't it funny? I never thought, even 2 months ago, that I would be on a boat right now, be able to do plumbing, be able to do carpentry, be able
Mhm.
to do engineering even. I'm just like, what happened in this
Yeah.
last 2 months? Like where we can go as women, as human beings in that short time, and what we can set our minds to. It's just insane, really, isn't it?
Do you know what? I think that's exactly it. Like, if you're someone like you were talking about your kind of characteristics and how you've always been kind of really like
A little bit
overthinking, but
woo, a little bit
also like,
way.
yeah, just like here, there, and everywhere, making impulsive decisions. And I want to say decisive, not
Thank
impulsive.
you, I'll take that.
Yeah. And just like kind of a bit of a go-getter as a woman. Um, it is kind of hard to connect. I think we're a similar age, aren't we? How old are you?
36. I
36.
think,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
37.
Don't
Yeah.
feel it, do you?
No,
I don't
no.
feel it. When
God, no,
did that
no, not
happen?
at all. No, definitely not. But I think as women, it is really hard to connect. Because even and I hope to God like that it's changing now. But I think even our generation, there was still sort of norms and expectations, particularly of women. And I think what moving onto the boat did exactly what you just said for you, did the exact same thing to me, just really empowered me to take on stuff that wasn't like, you know, the norm for women to take on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
not that there
absolutely.
aren't already women out there doing it, but you're in this space, and it has to be done. Like, shit goes wrong and you got
Absolutely.
to deal with it.
Absolutely.
and
100%.
and yeah, and it just really, I think that's part of the freeing feeling of it, is just like that level of independence
Yeah.
is something you just wouldn't
I
get.
had so many, my mum was number one for it actually, but so many people kept saying to me, "Why don't you ask a man? Why don't you ask a man to help you? Why don't you? I'm sure your brother would help. I'm sure your dad would be able to come over. I'm sure a neighbor would." And I'm just like, I'm so capable of doing it. And
Yeah.
one of my posts, I actually say about how my neighbors, even till Sunday, they see me and they don't see a woman that's struggling. This is the difference I find though
Mm.
with these boaty guys is that I think I said they don't see that I'm struggling. They see me determined.
Yeah.
So I struggle along with these big bits of wood on my shoulder, carrying. I mean, Sunday I was carrying sandbags, and at that point they did go, "Whoa," because even I was like, "These are very heavy," and they got me. But instead of going, "Hey, Shara, I'll take them for you," what they did is they went
Yeah.
and got me a sack barrow so I could do it myself.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
loved them for that. I loved them for
Mm.
that because I think if they actually offered to take it from me, I don't know about you, but I feel like I had some friends that did offer me help and I turned them down. And a little bit of me thought, should I accept? And in the end, it was this determination that thought, I don't need them to. That's me trying to go at speed, or me trying to. I almost feel like it gave this weakness if I had said,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
okay, help me. And in the end, like I thought, if someone was in here on this small boat helping me with, I know my own mind, I know how I want it, and I know how to do it because I'd struggled to find out how.
Mm.
Even like putting the blinds up. I mean, I was like, well, the first one I
Yeah.
did, which was this one. Boop, up there she is. Um, and the first time I did it, it took me ages, really it was like reading instructions, because in the end I was like, I don't understand. I don't know how to put such a simple blind up. I've never done it. And then by the time I'd done the other like 15 or wherever, the boat's got a lot of windows, then
Yeah.
I was a pro. I was doing it so
Yeah.
quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that, but that feeling when you do it yourself. My tap took me all day on a Sunday going backwards and forth to Screwfix. Me and the
Yeah.
girls are like that now in Screwfix. And
Yes.
I loved that they were girls because it was quite funny. I was like, what is this part? And they were like, I have no idea. So we were Googling like parts of a tap. Bearing
Yeah.
in mind my dad's a plumber, I refused to wait for my
Nice.
dad.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I can do this. I've got this. So I need two spanners, right? Got it. And then I was going backwards and forwards. And then I had all male parts. I needed a female part, and I was like, who
There
knew there
you
were male and
go.
female
Dun, dun,
parts of a
dun.
tap? So, but it's so funny. I said to one of my friends the other day, I was explaining about the tap, and I said, when I finally did it, because my neighbours saw me go up and down, they were always wondering what on earth is this crazy girl up to. And I was like, everyone, my tap's done. Come and see my tap. To all these strangers passing, come and see my tap. So proud. I'd done a tap. But it's these
Yeah.
crazy wins, when you
Yeah,
do it yourself.
absolutely. Do you know what? I have a my partner lives with me now, and so I bought the boat by myself, moved on by myself, and then and same I started renovating. This was completely livable, but you just want to put your own spin on it, and it was really like it was almost like done out like, I guess, kind of like an old school boat, but
Yeah.
that almost like living in a sort of wooden kind of caravan, and I wanted to put some color on the walls, and like, just all
Yes.
that kind of stuff, um and so I wanted to like just do it all, and I was hitting the ground running, yeah, doing it all myself,
Love
and then
it.
and I was just having the best time, and I was so happy. And then I was like, I'm never gonna meet a man, and I'm okay with that, because I'm never leaving, and no one is ever going to move on here. And then, like, a year and a half, 2 years later, I met this guy who actually was the first guy to, rather than look at my independence and go, oh whoa, we need to, that's terrifying, you must need me,
Yes.
he was like, he's
Yes.
a builder, and he was like, here, go on, grab a, oh, you don't know how to use a drill, let me show you, like, you want to use a chop saw, let me show you, now you can do it, and like, he really
Love
kind of
it.
just encouraged me to be able to be independent. And it's funny because I notice myself now, like, at the beginning, I wanted to like learn everything about the engine. It's not something I know anything about, so I'd get a guy to service the engine, but I would do it with him, and so for the first 2 years I serviced it. Like the second year he was like, okay, now I'm just going to come and watch, you're going to do it, and I'm just going to be there if you're stuck. And I was like, okay, cool. And I was really starting to learn, and now, like, I do find myself slipping into that, like, oh well, there's no point in me struggling on because he's going to do it easy, and I'm like, no, remember, the struggle on feels awesome at the end. Like, you keep going and keep learning about that stuff because it feels amazing. And I
Yeah.
love, don't get me wrong, very happy, but like, there is a part of me that's like, oh, the glory days of single boat life. Like, I still love it
Yeah.
every now and again when I get like a solo boat move. There's nothing better than a solo boat move where you're just like, I've just nailed that boat move. I've done like 10 locks. I've done it all by myself. I got caught in the
Yeah.
wind, like my props like broken. I've had to like dig all the weed out, and like, it's just an amazing, amazing feeling. But yeah, that I remember when we first got together. Well, no, like, we'd been together a while and he'd moved on, and we were about to go through a lock, and I was holding the boat, and we were with some friends actually, so they'd gone up to prep the lock. They were boaters as well, so they were moving through, and I was holding the boat, and of course the wash of the lock kind of pulled the boat a little bit, so I kind of held it a bit tighter, and he was like, do you want me to get that? And I was like, no. And then I just quietly pulled him aside, because normally I'd be like, how dare you, but I'm maturing, trying to be a little less, like, stubborn. So I was like, I just
Offended.
need, we just need to have a conversation about what just happened. He's like, okay. I'm like, I'm trying to accept help more, particularly from the male form, but never do that again. He was like, okay. I was like, I've got it. It's fine. Like, don't you
Yeah.
maybe want to find ways to help me do it, exactly like you said, but
Yes.
never offer to take something off me because I've got it. Yeah.
Because I'm a girl. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's funny actually, because I love our relationship really, like, 1 minute we just really fluctuate in like roles, like typical male female roles, which is great, but I noticed,
Yeah.
and he
That's
loves it as
good.
well, unless there's anyone else around. So like, when we're lugging a load of stuff and we've got a really long walk or whatever, we've moored somewhere where the car is miles away, and like, we'll maybe take it in turns to lug some stuff. If I'm lugging it and he's walking and someone starts to walk by, he's like, give me the bag, give me the bag. I'm like, no, I've got the bag. He's like, no, 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 I need the bag. I'm like, you don't even know these people. Why do you care? Like, you were fine a minute ago. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? That's still like that draw, even as you start to sit into your space of like, I've got this, that draw to be from both male and female. It's interesting for me to see how he handles it as well. And that's still that draw to be accepted even by strangers, of
And
like,
it's the same, isn't it, when you think about paying as well? Like if a woman pays, like it's
mm,
almost like the person who is taking the money kind of automatically would look to the male, or maybe awkwardly
yeah,
look to you,
oh
not knowing
yeah,
who to go to. And as a woman, I'm happy to. I think it's all about balance, isn't it? It's about taking
yeah,
turns. It's not about expectation of them always paying. It's
yeah,
but it is this expectation of, or even a woman opening the door for a man to go through.
yeah,
It's like this preconception of what's allowed. And I think so much about society, was kind of ingrained in like the 40s or something, 30s and
mm,
40s, and it's just never changed from there.
no,
um like this cycle of life, it's just it's just ingrained, isn't it, what everybody believes is right or wrong, and it's
mm,
it's just such bullshit, really. It's
yeah, it really
and I
is.
think it's really healthy that you have that relationship, and I think that's why I really struggle. And again, I touched on it in one of my posts actually, when I was talking about the male and female role of doing the boat up. I kind of said, my dad, the men in my life were also capable. My dad,
Mm.
my brother, So sometimes when I date someone now and they can't put something up on the wall, I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
What is this? Like, what do you mean you can't like use a leveler and put something up on the wall?
Yeah.
But because I grew up with them, I was always quite a tomboy, and I think
Mm.
that's some of the other things. Although I look quite girly, and a lot of my
Mhm.
friends, would always again, this kind of mentality of wait for a man to do something, or women don't
Yeah.
do that. I remember being told at school that I was going to be playing netball, and I said, well, why can't I play basketball? I want to play
Mm.
basketball. Why do I have to wear a skirt? Why can't I wear trousers or a shorts? Why is it? So I guess I'm not a feminist as such, but I think I challenge it when I can't do something, or when someone says I
Yeah.
can't do something.
Yeah.
um, but I struggle to find a guy. I really genuinely do, because
Yeah.
I don't need to be rescued. I don't need, like you
Mhm.
say, if you don't need someone,
Yeah.
there's like, again, I don't want to generalize, but a lot of guys want to feel like you need them for something. And when you don't need them for something, I don't need
Mm.
them financially. I don't need them,
Yes.
emotionally. I don't need them,
Yeah.
physically. I don't really need them for anything, really. But
Mhm.
it's this challenge when you want to be with someone, you want to share your life with someone, but you want this
Yeah.
equal, and someone who sees you as an equal. So I think that sounds like you've got yourself a really healthy relationship there, where you've got that,
Yeah.
the best balance you can with two human beings. It's just about having that respect and that balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where
I
you get to be
so
your
hear
full
you on that.
self.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I so hear you on that. I remember my sister, she won't mind me saying, I hope, said to me once, I've also like done some labor for my partner as well. Like, since he's kind of taught me how to do a load of things, like I'll go and labor on a job with him and stuff like that. I haven't done it in a really long time, so I've been busy with my own work, but I have done that. And we were doing, the decking for my sister was having some decking done in her garden, so myself and my partner did it. And I remember at the time then, like, we were learning to work together then. There was definitely lots of rowing. Like, let's not paint our relationship as this perfect dreamy thing. It's very much real. We still have battle of wills, and we were like, particularly I guess when it's his domain and I'm there and I'm like, but
Yeah.
why do
Well,
you do
that's
it that
different again,
way?
isn't it? Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's his job. That's his,
Yeah.
that's his knowledge and know-how.
Yeah,
So it's quite hard
exactly.
in that aspect. Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. But she was saying to me at the time, that it's difficult for men because I don't need them, and men need to feel like they're needed and that they have a role to play in your life and all that sort of stuff, and that basically that I needed to kind of offer that to a man to allow them to have, and that would feel, and I
A
was like,
damsel.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Oh, help
I
me.
was like, fuck that. If a man needs to feel like I need him for him to have any
Mm,
purpose in life, then he's not the one for me. And love him. Dan piped up and was like, I really like that Sean doesn't need me. I was like,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
And it's like it is often that God love my sister. Like she wouldn't have like, meant it the way that it kind of came out. But there is that idea that you need to change.
Absolutely. And that's exactly how I feel like I've been for so long. In in my teens, in my it's quite funny. I remember even in my teens, I remember people at school were like, "I'm going to go get drunk," or "I'm going to go, going on with this guy," and all this kind of like growing up, kind of testing the boundaries. And with my parents, I never really felt like I needed to. I was again so different from my siblings. I'm one of
Mm,
four, and we're so different. All of the
mm,
stuff is so different. And I remember kind of going to my mum and saying, "Mum, so and so wants to stay around and get drunk." It was like waiting for her to go, "No." But she'd go, "Well, that's up to you. What do you think is right?" And I'm like, damn it, I had no chance to rebel, because they would leave me to
yeah,
my own devices, my
yeah,
own mistakes.
yeah,
And that's kind of how I went into my adulthood. So I never
yeah.
really felt like I needed to test the boundaries, or
Hmm.
go off the rails, or
Yeah.
I would quite often, I was quite shy as a child. I would just sit and observe. I'd watch people and I would think, I don't know why they think that. I don't know why they do that. I never understood, and I never felt the need to repeat.
Yeah.
And so in my kind of adulthood and stuff, it was the same. I guess I was trying to live on, again, this kind of society's timeline, and I know it wasn't working. I know it wasn't fitting, and it was this frustration of, my longest was a 7-year relationship. But in that time, I felt trapped because
Mm.
he was quite happy to settle. I call it settle.
Mm.
My mum loves that word as well. When are you going to settle?
Yeah.
I am settled. I'm very
Yeah.
settled.
So
I'm very settled being unsettled.
couldn't be more
Um,
settled in my unsettledness.
yeah, so I kind of I felt trapped because I knew that I wanted to live. I have so much life in me, so much passion, excitement, and positivity. Like I'm bursting with it sometimes. I exhaust myself.
Yeah.
But I was on this kind of like in this safe zone of like, could I have this rest of my life? The kids and marriage, and we live happily ever after. But to me, I thought, I'm not happy.
Mm.
I'm not happy. I have this relationship. I have a man who loves me. I have a great car. I have, a good job. At the time I worked for the police. I was there for 5 years and I hated it though because it was so negative. I was like, I don't want to work in a negative industry. I want to go to work and be happy. Like, what does that look
Mm.
like? And,
Yeah.
so I had all this so young. And then in my 20s, I suppose I had this rebellious go out, get drunk, try my best to meet someone that's right for me. And,
Mm.
and I think that's when I got to my sort of 30s. I'd done my 20s was over. And what was that about? Trying to
Yeah.
fit in, not being comfortable in my own skin, not knowing who I am, not knowing what I want, really, just trying to fit in. And it was such a bullshit. Like, I never want to go back to my 20s, or if I did, I want to go back with what I know now.
Mm.
So my 30s, I've just felt like I've chilled a little bit more. I've tried to be a little bit less of what other people expect me to be.
Yeah.
And I try and laugh it off as well when people kind of ask you questions and want to know more, and why can't you meet someone, like
Mm.
almost like, what's wrong with you? It's like, I don't
Yeah.
know, but I just know that I'm not prepared to settle for anything in life. Like,
Yeah.
whatever I do, I've got to decide what path, what road to take, and whatever direction that is, it's as much as I know to be happiness, as much as I know that's all I search for, and all that guides me is like, I really believe in the universe is kind of, guiding us all to what feels right,
Yes.
what feels wrong.
Yeah.
And so many times I went with the option that felt safe, and it felt so wrong. The relationship, the job, it felt so wrong, but I did it anyway because I was too
Mm.
fearful of, "Well, what else is there.
Yeah.
So I stayed. I stayed too long, and I stayed
Mhm.
unhappy. I stayed feeling trapped. And so now, like, there's one thing recently, I went to, my shower is at my gym, which is just there.
Yeah.
I very rarely go to the gym, but I go for a shower.
Yes.
It's a
All
pound a
goers have a
day.
gym membership just for the shower.
It's quite funny because I go in there and I feel like I'm like, hi, I'm like a meerkat at reception, but I go in and be like, hi,
Shower.
these are shower facilities. It's an ensuite. It's a disabled toilet. But it's an ensuite. It's got everything that I need there. But when I come out of that shower and I stand in a communal area drying my hair on the occasional brush that it gets, and I stand there and I had this like flashback, and I was like, whoa. And it was a flashback of when I travel, staying in a hostel, and everybody, that I think I actually know would be like, you're crazy. But all the people I've met kind of boating and travel will get this. That simplicity, like when I travel and I don't know if like some of the places I've camped in Africa, and one of our biggest questions was, is there a shower at the next place? And they'd go, no. And you'd go, okay. And then the next place, is there a shower? And they'd go, yes, there is. Woo, the eruption.
Yeah.
And when you get there, the next question, is it warm? And they'd go, no. And then you'd go, okay, but you'd accept it. And then when you finally got to a place that's warm, oh, the celebration, the happiness, the
Mm-hmm.
simplicity, the primal needs, the luxury of a warm shower, the
Yeah.
appreciation. And I stood there at this shower, which was a little bit lukewarm, if my Jimmy's listening, if they could turn the temperature up. Then it was like this moment of drying my hair, and I thought, I have no one to celebrate with. So I had this little celebration with myself. I'm showered, my hair's brushed,
Mm.
I've got everything I need, and life is good. And then,
Yeah.
I remember how I felt when I was in this place I rented, this keeping up, with the, I say keeping up with the Joneses. What did I say? Keeping up with the Truman Show sort of
True.
style thing. And when I was there, I was like, I had everything, and it was hot shower. It was, everything was there, but oh, I felt so miserable. I was like, this is so unhappy living like this. Like everything's here, my water, my food's right. Like, I've got a massive fridge freezer. It's all there. I've got my cooker. I've got everything. Unlimited gas, unlimited water. I've got everything. But I feel so empty because
Mm,
what do I have to work for? What am I working for? And I thought I'm working to live in this place, which is costing me a fortune.
yeah.
But what if I didn't have to pay this much? What if I only had to pay 180 a month for my mooring?
Mm,
Well, how amazing is that? And my water is endless. I just have to keep filling it up.
mm,
And I thought, like, coming back to the simplicity, that shower, this boat, it's just, to me, it's like mindfulness. It's like everything I
mm,
do, from the wood I'm about to burn tonight to
mm.
my tap that I don't leave on when I'm brushing my teeth because I think
Yeah.
about what I'm using for the week. And my cooker, I think about, any point my gas could run out. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
What would I do? It's like this just pure mindfulness. I'm so present in this boat, and
Yeah.
it's so cozy, and I love that. I can. I just got the most amazing group of people that are here to help me, and
Yeah.
I call them my neighborhood watch. They're always watching. They're always knowing, who's coming near my boat, and when I go out for the day, and what am I carrying today?
Yeah.
What shower building today? And it's just so lovely. Like everything about it. Just I'm so excited to kind of be on the journey that you're on and be here for another 5 years and see where do I go in that time, and what do I do,
Yeah.
and who will I meet, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so
So
exciting.
true. Do you know, I did a podcast before this called What is Freedom? Because someone asked me once, well, what is freedom to you? I was having life coaching at the time, and I was chatting to her, and she was asking me what I want, and I was like, I just want to feel free. I just want freedom. And she was like, well,
Yeah.
what is that to you? Like, what is freedom to you? And I was like, oh, good question. So then I was like, God, this is madness. I've been chasing this thing. I don't even know what I want. So I just went on this quest to kind of find what is freedom. And I gave them all like, what I did was kind of speak to other people and kind of gave them subheadings. So I'd explore like the freedom of, I think the first one was the freedom of vulnerability, and spoke to my friend who just kind of like told his story quite publicly. And how did that feel? Was it freeing, or what was it? And then there was loads of things: freedom of movement, freedom of we just really touched on each topic, but across every single topic, what came out at the end was that basically, like, we all have freedom in abundance, and when we don't realize or don't feel free, it's usually because we've got too much of something, and so
Oh,
we've lost
100%.
the realization of what we've got. And
Yeah,
it is exactly that. And I know it's like, um it's just day-to-day stuff, right? It's just water, and it's just gas, and it's all that sort of stuff, but I think it's because it's every day, it enables you to have gratitude on a daily basis for that
definitely.
thing that you didn't have gratitude for before, because you didn't really think about,
You
you
had
didn't
it in
really consider
abundance.
it. Yeah, you just,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
wasn't even a thought in your mind, because you just, like you say, turn the tap on, or
yeah,
whatever. And I think that definitely gives you just that sense of connection. Yeah, it really does, gives you that sense
definitely.
of connection and purpose, like you said, to your own life, you know.
Definitely. And yourself, like I've kept having to I thought I had to keep traveling to find that feeling. I would keep, going away, going away, going away. And when COVID made me stay, at the time I resented it so much. And now I'm like,
Mm,
thank you, because actually what I did is I tried to seek that here. How can I recreate that here?
yeah.
And I was so grateful to my friend, all going on that date. Thank you very much. It was
I love
totally
a
worth it.
Tinder date that
Again,
works out to be a really good friend. I've got a couple of those and they're
I
just the
know, yeah.
best.
They are, because you're attracted. There's something there that you're
Yeah.
attracted to. And
Mm-hmm.
again, back to that, you meet people at different points in your life. And
Yeah.
we actually joke now and say we are the male female version of each other, which is
Yeah.
the crazy thing. We're so, so similar. But
Yeah.
that's why it's so wicked having him as a friend, because actually, like, we have the best chats, the most mindful chats, and we just, especially now both been on the boat, you just get it. So
Yeah.
he's a great person just to like roll things off. And like, he came and like he had a look the other week when it had finally been finished, and it was like, God, it's unrecognizable. And he just shared the little details, the little wins. And then he had these other visions of like, oh, maybe you could turn it this way or do this. And I was like, oh, I love that. So the excitement of like
Yeah.
sharing that with someone. And
Yeah.
so, but it's just this kind of there's a thing on Netflix called Expedition Happiness, which is a really
Okay.
cool. I'm really attracted to different documentaries and stuff on
Mm.
Netflix like that get you thinking. I love those
Yeah.
kind of documentaries or films. And they actually went off in a camper. They did up this bus, this couple with their dog, and they went away and they traveled. I can't remember where they went now. I think it was like, I want to say Canada. I can't quite remember, like different places in the US. And yeah, different kind of climates between hot and cold. And they took their dog, and I know they had lots of struggles with their dog because of the temperature and that kind of
Mm.
thing. And then that he wasn't very well. And so they were saying that, it was interesting because they were going off just to be expedition happiness, to go and find this happiness. And they realized actually um, they were actually happiest at home with each other. But I think that they realized with this kind of van, they just appreciated so much like the simplicity of it.
Mm.
But yeah, and I think that is the thing. And I think I've got a lot of friends that they stay in unhappy relationships, marriages. They tell themselves it's for the children, they can't leave. And I find it quite hard sometimes to actually just to talk about those kind of things with friends, because actually,
Yeah.
like, it's kind of sometimes in my head I'm like, well, I couldn't comment because I don't have children, that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm like, God, be happy.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like, this isn't it. You're feeling stuck, trapped, and
Yeah.
sometimes you stay in these situations in life because we can't see financially how to get out of it, and
Mm-hmm.
we think life's going to stop. That's what we think.
Yeah.
Actually, life has a wonderful way of keep working out. The cogs keep turning, and you have no choice but to keep going forwards. And life does work out, but sometimes you have to take that leap and find that
Yeah.
breaking point to just finally just like leave it behind and see
Yeah.
see where life takes you. Because it's just about that trust, isn't it, that it will be
Yeah.
okay and it will work out. So whatever you decide, whether it's living on a boat, whether it's living a bit like what you said earlier on, though, a lot of people kind of have this conceived idea. Because I've got another lady who actually asked to call me, someone I know from traveling. She said, can I call you? Because I've got some serious questions and I want the honest truth about it. And I said, yeah, absolutely. Because it's not about me saying, oh, it's amazing, it's perfect,
Yeah.
nothing ever goes wrong, it's not hard. It's like, of course it's
Yeah.
hard. Every
Yeah.
Sunday I get my 3 hoses and I have to lug them and connect them. And sometimes they fall in the water and I get my grabber because they fall off
Yeah.
the edge of the walkway. And sometimes I've gone all the way there and I've turned it on and I wait sort of 10-15 minutes and I turn it off and I come back and I realize that whole 10 minutes it came out of the hull of the boat, and I've got to go back and do it all again. And it's just these things.
Yeah.
Nothing about it is easy peasy,
No.
but it's part of the journey, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
part of that appreciation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God. Shara, I'd like literally, I've got a whole list of questions here that I want to like talk to you about. And we've talked about one of them. One of them. I feel like basically we're gonna have to get you back like every other episode. Just to work my way through what I want to talk to you about. This has been beautiful and I want to keep going, but because I'm posting on Instagram, it only lets me post an hour. So we have to stop. But I'm absolutely, if you're up for it, I'd love to get you back
I'd
on and
love to,
just talk about more.
yeah.
Like I want to talk about a lot of this more a lot more of the things that you said in your post, and I'm resisting like saying them because I know we'll just go off on another tangent. And but Thank you so much for coming and like talking to me and just kind of trusting the process. Exactly, just trusting and just saying yes. And like, oh, so many cogs turning in my brain, and like it's so nice to like speak to you at the beginning of your boat journey again and just remember all those like bubbly feelings that I felt, and just
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, just bring those back into my life a little bit. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me waffle on as well. I totally appreciate that.
Absolutely no waffling. That was all very heartfelt, true information.
Oh, thank you so much.